Adonai Haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. This week's parsha is Parsha Balak with very famous words that we know. I included in the email, which is Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov mishkanotecha Yisrael. How good are your tents, O Jacob, your dwelling places, O Israel, which is the would have been curse that came out as a bracha from Bilam, who was hired by King Balak to curse the Jewish people. And the beautiful result of all that is that these words.
You disappeared, your sound.
We can't hear you.
You can't hear me? You can't hear me?
I can hear you. You just frozen, but I still hear you.
Now I can hear you. Thank you.
Okay. My internet connection is a little unstable, so I may freeze periodically, but we'll just continue on and hopefully it comes back. I have no idea what impacts these things. I don't even know how the whole thing works, of course. Okay. Patricia, it looks like you're trying to tell me something, but I can't hear.
Kind of start at the beginning because that's right when it started.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
About this week's parsha is Parsha Balak, which has a very famous line. The truth is this parsha is very difficult to understand because it consists of the would-be curses turned into blessings spoken in very poetic, allegorical form by Bilam the prophet, hired by King Balak to curse the Jewish people. And despite all of Bilam's efforts to curse the Jewish people, he says the only thing he can say is whatever God puts in his mouth, and out come all these blessings. In addition to that, so it's difficult to understand them because of the allegories, and even the simple sentence, Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov mishkanotecha Yisrael, how good are your tents, O Jacob, your dwelling places, O Israel, is also understood at various levels. The tents are considered the tents either of the actual tents of the Jewish people and reflected the modesty and the morality of the Jewish homes. And it also represents houses of study. And Mishkanotecha Yisrael, the places where the Mishkan, like a Shechina, your places of worship. So it could be study halls, it could be places of worship, and or the Jewish home. That being said, in a way, all those things are the same thing. They're the places where the Jewish people live their life, which is in their homes or where they gain their spiritual learning and deepening and connection to live their lives in their Jewish homes, in the study hall, in the synagogues. Now, when we see that this was a blessing that came out, and it means that Bilam had wanted to curse those very things, to recognize that those are the very foundations of the Jewish people, and that he wanted to curse the tents, the homes, and the study halls, and the places of worship. But instead, what came out is a bracha. And his bracha has made the Jewish people, well, actually Hashem's bracha that he verbalized, has made the Jewish people strong in those specific three areas: the Jewish family, the synagogues, and the places, the study halls. I don't know if you've seen, throughout the war, the soldiers who are learning Talmud in Gaza. I saw one that they made a siyum on one of the Masechtas in Gaza. How anybody has the presence of mind to do this, and what you would do with any time off that you had when you were exhausted being in battle, that you would be learning. But the Jewish people, they did that in the concentration camps. They've done this in any environment the Jewish people have ever been in. They set up and they study and they learn and they daven and they live their Jewish lives no matter where they are. And so it is a huge bracha that we received from this bracha that Bilam gives us from the words that Hashem turns around. Now, this whole idea of turning around should ring a bell to a holiday that we have where everything turns around, of the would-be destruction of the Jewish people that turns into the salvation of the Jewish people, which of course is Purim. So Purim, as the holiday that is turning everything around, when we get to the Torah, as far as a parsha, this parsha is the kind of a Purim-like parsha, in that it turns everything around, and the attempt to curse us instead turns into a huge bracha. In addition, this parsha is considered to be the source in the Torah for the idea that there is and there will be a Mashiach, that there will be a redeemer of the Jewish people, a messianic time, and there will be peace, and the Jewish people will have peace, prosperity. We will prevail over those who are trying to destroy us. It says this is the source for that. And so when some people say there's no, that got made up later and there's no reference to Mashiach in the Torah, yes, there is. It's in this parsha of Balak. The verses in this parsha are considered also to be so lofty that there is our sages said that they really, verses from this parsha should have been included in Kriyat Shema, in the saying of Shema, that they are so powerful, they should have been included. The only reason they weren't included is people have enough difficulty doing all their davening with what we already have every morning in our shachrit, in our morning prayers. And if people were going to have to basically recite the parsha of Balak and these blessings that are included from the prophet Bilam, it's called a tircha. It would have been difficult, an imposition on the community, and so they weren't included. However, just knowing that they woulda, coulda, should have been included tells us that we should be paying much more careful attention to what is in this parsha and what is being conveyed to us. This parsha is also always read right before the 17th of Tammuz. The 17th of Tammuz, which is going to be on Tuesday this coming week. So it's Tuesday is the 17th of Tammuz, which launches the 3 weeks. The 3 weeks taking us from the 17th of Tammuz to Tisha B'Av, which of course commemorates the destruction of both temples and a host of other calamities. The 17th of Tammuz is the date that Moshe broke the tablets as a result of the sin of the golden calf. In Jewish history later on, it was the beginning of the destruction of the actual temple. It's when the walls were broken, and then culminating in the 9th of Av, which is when the temple itself was destroyed. So the breaching of the walls was on the 17th of Tammuz. In the future, the launching of these 3 weeks is going to be 3 weeks of Simcha. This parsha of Balak is our nechama, is our comfort to tell us that all of the difficulties and challenges, all of the curses are going to be turned over, and we are going to get ready. If you thought you had until Tishrei to get ready for the holidays, actually the summer holiday starting 3 weeks from the 17th of Tammuz until and including Tisha B'Av are going to be Yom Tovim. It's going to be 21 days of feasting and celebrating and gratitude and happiness and joy, but that will only be in the future with the coming of Mashiach. So the 17th of Tammuz itself has embedded in it, Mashiach is coming. And it comes with the connection to this parsha of Parsha Balak. So what we're going to do is we're going to explore some of this to put this all together, to give us chizuk, to give us strength and help us. As I mentioned, we said before that it's ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov. Ma tov, how good are your tents? So it doesn't say how beautiful are your tents. It doesn't say how well designed. It doesn't say how colorful. It says how good are your tents? How good are your tents? Interestingly, that word good, we're going to come back to it, also is featured in the Haftorah for this week. The Haftorah for Parshat Balak comes from the prophet Micha, and it concludes with, "It has been told you, O man, what is good and what the Lord desires from you. Only to love justice, to do chesed, and to v'hatznei alechet im Hashem Elokecha, and to walk with modesty and privacy with the Lord your God. It says to do what is good, and our tents are good. And so what does it mean to be good? So we're going to take a look at that and see how this all connects to, we've got something really good going on, and we're going to find out what the connection is to the 17th of Tammuz and how we can get in on this goodness. So let's take a look of who might remember where is the first time the word good appears in the Torah. Gabi.
In Bereshit, but also can I just ask justice? The third is modesty, tzniut, and what's the second? I'm sorry.
And acts of loving kindness.
Okay, so what? Vayar ki tov, he said every day.
Yeah, but yes, but yes, he did say it almost every day except for Yom Sheni. But
Yeah.
he said, when's the first time he said it? The first time that Hashem says it is the creation of light. So if you want to go to your Chumash and you can see where it says that, and it says it's on page 2, chapter 1, verse 4. Vayar Elohim et haor ki tov v'yavdel Elohim bein haor uvein ha'choshech. Then God saw the light that it was good, and he separated between the light and the darkness. The creation of light, as we know here, is not the creation of the light of the sun, the moon, the stars. This is spiritual light that God created and saw that it was good. So what is the nature of that light? So that light is a spiritual light that we have control over infusing into the world. So I mentioned, and had any of you participated in or knew about the week of goodness? Andy, I see great raising your hand.
Your email.
In the manner of the hostages. So it's so this is, it says that the idea is to create a surge. Andy, did you have a question? I just saw
I can't find which page you were reading from. I'm sorry.
page 2 of the Chumash, the chapter 1, verse 4.
Oh,
Okay. Thanks.
So that was the light, and now we're just kind of connecting. We're talking about spiritual light and connecting that to this surge, the surge of goodness and light to bring into the world to counter the incredible, I don't even know how to have words to describe it, the darkness, the heaviness, the oblivion that is covering the world, and so many places that it's really incomprehensible. It's like, what is our strategy? And our strategy is light. Now, it's interesting to talk about a surge because at least here in Israel, in our community, we have power outages a lot for various reasons. I don't even know why. But one of the problems is that when the power is reconnected, it creates a power surge. So guess what power surges do to your appliances? They can ruin them because they're used to operating at a certain level, whatever, of electricity. And when it's cut off and then the electricity starts flowing again, it hits it and it causes disruptions. So everything starts beeping and whatever. And so everyone says, get surge protectors so that the surge of the electricity doesn't harm your appliances. But the basic understanding is, we know this also happens like from a solar flare. When there are surges, it disrupts whatever is currently going on. So that can be a bad thing, and it can also be a good thing. So when there is a surge of light and a surge of goodness and a surge of mitzvahs, a surge of Torah learning, a surge of challah baking, acts of kindness, all of these things that we're told what's good, so we just have to take it from the Haftorah. Hashem has told us what this spiritual light is. It is, and you walk humbly with God, hatznei alechet, acts of loving kindness and doing justice. All of the mitzvot are surges of light. So that's what this effort is like, how do we change the reality? And as the families have said, we've been like running around the world, beating our heads against the wall, trying to do something. And now this is, I think they're considering, which is a little unfortunate, they're considering this the last resort. It's really the first resort. It's like, this is what we do to change reality. And this is what we do. And it's every little bit of it helps and makes a difference. This kind of light is the light that we have the potential to increase and have another surge starting on the 17th of Tammuz. So we have a beautiful, all of this is coming from a wonderful shir from Rabbi Mordechai Satorsky, based on a lot of it on the writings of Rav Moshe Wolfson, who passed away a few weeks ago, almost at the age of 100. I've mentioned him before. He's just incredible. So here is such a beautiful gematria that he points out, which is the 17th of Tammuz, which, as we know, in Hebrew, we use letters for numbers. So if you want to say the 17th of Tammuz, it's Yud Zayin. Yud equals 10 and Zayin equals 7. So Yud Zayin Tammuz, Yud Zayin Tammuz. Tammuz is spelled Taf Mem Vav Zayin. Yud Zayin Tammuz, the 17th of Tammuz, is equal to, the gematria is 470. 470 is the phrase from where we were just looking at light when God creates light. And it is Yehi Or Vayehi Or. Let there be light, and there was light. Yehi Or Vayehi Or is equal to 470. The 17th of Tammuz is the day that is going to be a launching of light. And it's in our hands to launch that process. It's associated with the beginning of Mashiach. The date is also, and I think we mentioned this 2 weeks ago as well, is that 17th of Tammuz is given as the date when Boaz clarified in Israel that Moabite women could come and enter into the Jewish people, not a Moabite man. And he marries Ruth that day, that night. 17th of Tammuz is then she conceives, and she conceives then Oved, her son Oved, and then it goes down Oved, Yishai, David. So it says this is the beginning of the conception of Mashiach. So the conceiving of Mashiach is the beginning of this, and you don't see it. Like when something is getting launched, you don't see it. When somebody conceives, I don't think they've even created a test for this yet. They haven't come up with a test, I don't think, that can tell you at the moment of conception that there was a conception. I think there's still like a couple of days that you need for a pregnancy test or something, I'm not sure. But that was the day, the conception, this beginning and the launching of Mashiach, of what was going to happen in the future. We see it takes time to unfold, it takes time to come to fruition, but that it will come. Questions or thoughts just on this before we go into more? Yes.
Where is this, where is it, I'm sorry, quote is it? What verse is it that you just talked about? The light.
I'm sorry, you were right, thank you. It is the beginning of verse 3 on chapter 1 of Genesis.
No, I'm talking about in the current, in Bala. You said that it was all right there, the Mashiach was coming. I thought it was, we haven't come
that is a whole description. Well, I'll show it. It says the scepter. Yeah. So this is, we're gonna, the whole thing is about Mashiach. It's talking about the future of all of the other nations, what's going to happen to them, the whole thing, and the scepter shall not depart. And I'll show you, we'll go into it. But right now what we're trying to do is, but I also didn't, I'm going to answer a question you didn't ask, which is where is the Yehi Or Vayehi Or, which is the beginning of verse 3 in chapter 1. And where it says of Hashem creating light, it says, let there be light, and there was light. So this light and this goodness and the connection with the 17th of Tammuz is a time for a surge of spiritual light to go out into this world and to launch and to further the process of the redemption coming. And this redemption coming is coming in the process of tremendous upheaval. And I mean, there are many different ways that Mashiach can come in many different scenarios, though I have to say it's looking like the scenario that we're in is the challenging scenario rather than the one where everybody has gotten themselves to a great place and it's inevitable. So there's two. Either it's so insane that it's inevitable that Hashem has to save us, or that we've reached this place. But we're going into like, oh my gosh, I think Hashem just needs to save us. We need Mashiach now. There are no other answers. And like the hostage families saying, we've been running around the world. There's nothing left to do. Let's do this. So having a whole week, and I don't know if it was intentional, so that it concludes right before the 17th of Tammuz, and we're ready to go in with a surge of light, but that's what we need to do. So when we go back to answer, yes, Gabi.
Sorry, so are we starting the week now or it finished?
It's almost finished.
Oh, we didn't know.
It's almost finished, but let me just tell you something. That date is an artificial date. There's nothing that says that there's an expiration date on this. This effort is the effort that the Jewish people need to be involved with. So while we've been applauding the soldiers who are doing, tzitzis, and they're doing this, and like, oh, that's so nice, it's so amazing, it's looking in the mirror time to say, and what am I doing to contribute to this? And it can be anything. And if you go to the website that I sent in my email, you can look and see all the different initiatives that people have started. And it's from, I'm calling my bubby, on Friday before Shabbos to, I'm launching some other kind of major thing. It can be anything. It just needs to be more light. So it's like pennies in a tzedakah. They add up very quickly. And just see what other people are doing, it's very inspiring. And to not be shy, because everyone's individual effort adds up with everyone else's, and it creates it's whatever. The sum is greater than the impact is greater than the sum of its parts. And that's where we're trying to be. I see a hand up by iPhone 3, but I don't know who that is. So I'm just gonna call on you. If you had a question, you can unmute.
Me, Ellen,
Oh,
the 3 weeks before the destruction of the first temple, is that it?
both of them, both of them.
Both of them. Okay.
They were
The
both
3 weeks, these are the 3 weeks where we don't marry.
correct.
Is that correct?
Yes.
And there are other prohibitions too.
Yes.
We don't really shop for fun, or
Right.
if we need something, we do, but
We
not
don't buy
for
things.
fun.
We don't have, and then it gets more strict starting the 1st of Av. So yeah, and it becomes increasingly more. It's basically, we're sitting like a national semi-shiva. I mean, we're going into the depths. But every time because everything always exists in parallel or reciprocal. Anytime there is a sinkhole day or time in Jewish history, that means the potential, when it's flipped over, creates a peak. So the way we know how good it's going to be is by knowing how difficult and challenging it has been and is. So that's how we know what it has the potential to turn into. Just like Purim, the happiest day was going to be a Holocaust. It was the Holocaust that didn't happen. So that's how we know. So in a kind of reverse funny way, Jewish way of looking at things is like, wow, this is going to be really good because look how bad it is. It's like, this is going to, when it turns around, it turns into a peak. But even while it's down, it still is connected to the light that is embedded in it. So anything that is really negative has an incredible, Marsha, I'm just going to mute you, I'm sorry. Anything that is really negative has the power to be very positive. Okay, so we're going to take a look at that, and I'm going to show you some other things, some other connections that we have here. Yes, Marsha.
Excuse me. Is this the holiday? Not the holiday. The what's the word? It's not a holiday, that they stay up all night to study?
No, that's
No.
Shavuot. That's Erev
Oh,
Shavuot.
that's- Okay, so this, they don't do that, but they
It's a
study
fast
a
day.
lot.
It's
It's
so
what?
the 17th of Tammuz is a fast day. It's a fast.
Oh, it's a fast, that's how they
Yeah.
do it. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. It's a fast day,
Okay.
and it's a day of teshuvah. It's a day where we correct, what got us to this place where we are, and we correct it with a surge of light. And that's where we bring in Mashiach. So let's talk about and go back to Balak here. So we can turn to him. And we have to ask the question also, why do we have a parsha called after Balak, who is the king who hired Bilam, the prophet, to curse us? It's one thing we have Yitro, that's also named for someone who's not Jewish, but he sees the light, joins the Jewish people, is a great, amazing tzaddik. We also have Korach, we just had, but we already talked about Korach, how there was all this redeeming qualities about him and his potential greatness and his eventual teshuvah and his eventual return. So since the other people who have parshas named for them follow that pattern of like, oh, but there's all this great stuff about them, will we see the same thing about Balak? Here he is, he's the person, and he's paying big, big bucks, kind of like Haman, to Bilam to curse us. And he takes him not just one place, but several places, different places, to curse us and find ways to do us in and be rid of us and destroy us. So who is this Balak, and what does he have to offer us? So very, very interestingly, let's take a look at Balak. Some of the things that he does are interesting in that it looks like he has somewhat of a belief in Hashem, because he wants Bilam to get God to be angry with the Jewish people and find the prime moment when it would be a good time to curse the Jewish people. So one of the things he does, hold on one second, let's turn to page 865. This is chapter 23, verse 1. Bilam, the prophet. These are tongue twisted. People usually start saying Bilam instead of Balak because they both start with a ba and have a la in them. So Bilam, the prophet, says to Balak the king, build for me here 7 altars and prepare for me here 7 bulls and 7 rams. Balak did as Bilam had spoken, and Balak and Bilam brought up a bull and a ram on each altar. Bilam said to Balak, stand by your burnt offering while I go. Perhaps Hashem will happen toward me and show me something that I can tell you. So this action is repeated of building these mizbeachs, these altars, and making offerings. And these offerings are to Hashem. So very, very, you think like, what are you doing? You're trying to curse Hashem's people, and you're doing it through building an altar and making sacrifices. We are on page 865. Page 865. So this is repeated several times of these building of these altars. So the way Hashem looks at the world is different than you and I would. Hashem is like, he built these altars. He made sacrifices to me. Never mind that he was doing it to find out a way to curse the Jewish people. He did offer sacrifices. There is a recognition. There is a connection. And it says in the merit of those offerings that Balak offered, he merited to have Ruth be his descendant because he is a Moabite. So Ruth is a descendant of King Balak. So do we include him in the Torah and give him a parsha? And the answer is yes, because at the same time that this is going to be we're trying to curse and destroy the Jewish people, it's a gotcha. This is called a nakama. A nakama is where God uses the very thing that somebody tried to use to destroy the Jewish people, and uses that very thing or that very person to redeem the Jewish people. Not unlike in Purim, where Haman is hanged on the gallows that he built for Mordecai. So he built him and he hung on him. Balak is trying to prevent the Jewish people from entering into the land of Israel, from having a redeemer, from having redemption, and the joke's on him. Because God is saying, not only are you going to be unsuccessful and every curse you desire is going to be turned into a blessing, but you yourself, Balak, are going to be the ancestor of that very redeemer. Not unlike in Egypt, where Pharaoh is trying to destroy the Jewish people, and there shouldn't be a redeemer for the Jewish people. And instead, Pharaoh ends up raising Moshe in his palace. This is called Nakama. You don't even have to have a battle. This is Hashem uses the very tool to like boomerang and turn back on those who are trying to destroy. It's like, this is the funny of Purim. This is the laughter when we talk about in Shir HaMalot that we sing on the holidays and on Shabbos before we do the Birkat HaMazon. We say our mouths will be filled with laughter. It's like, what are we laughing about? The ultimate irony of that, it's ironic laughter. It's like, you've got to be kidding. You've got to be kidding. That's how it's going to work? That's hilarious. Okay, so this is how it's going to work. So you'd have to say this whole parsha is actually funny and ironic because Balak is taking Bilam to all these different places trying to find, well, maybe if you curse him from here, maybe if you curse him from here, maybe if you curse him from here. And each time the only thing that's pouring out is all this prophecy about the Jewish people being redeemed, all of their enemies being destroyed, a redeemer coming to the Jewish people, and them prevailing. And what is going to happen to all those who try to destroy the Jewish people, including, did somebody have a question? Okay. So let's take a look on page 800. Yes, Beth Ann, if you want to unmute.
There I am. I was just going to say on with your comment about it being funny, what other parsha has a talking donkey?
There you go, a talking donkey. You don't find that every day. So, and that talking donkey, we know is just like Korach, just like the mouth that opened up at the earth to swallow Korach, the talking donkey was also one of the things that was created, it says, on Erev Shabbos. So that talking donkey was created then, or the ability for his donkey to talk then was created. And you notice this is like, you think it was like a Disney show. Bilam doesn't say anything to the donkey about the fact that he's talking. Instead, he's getting into an argument with the donkey. So that's kind of funny. So this whole thing it's very, very strange. So let's take a look here also at on page 873. 873, chapter 24, verse 17. Verse 17 says, I shall see him, but not now. I shall look at him, but it is not near. A star has issued from Jacob, and a scepter bearer has risen from Israel, and he shall pierce the nobles of Moab and undermine the children of Seth. This is Mashiach, okay? A star has issued from Jacob, and a scepter bearer is a king from Israel, and he shall pierce the nobles of Moab and undermine the children of Seth. This is about the future of what's going to happen when all of the nations that have been trying to destroy us are going to be undone. But look what it says here. It says, I shall see him, but not now. I shall look at him, but it's not near. What does this mean? This is talking about in time. Bilam had the gift of prophecy to be able to see Mashiach, that it was going to come, but not now. It's going to be in the future. It's going to be in the future. But he's saying, but it's going to come. It's going to come. And then it goes on to talk about verse 18, Edom shall be a conquest, and Seir shall be the conquest of his enemies, and Israel will attain success. One from Jacob shall rule and destroy the remnant of the city. He saw Amalek and declaimed his parable. So these are the enemies of the Jewish people. Edom, which is Esav, Amalek, the Moabites. He saw the Kenite and declaimed his parable. Strong is your dwelling and set a rock in your nest. For the Kenite shall be laid waste. Those are the other Canaanite nations. Till where can Assyria take you captive? You won't be able to be taken. And then on the next page, he declaimed his parable and said, who will survive when capital He imposes these? Capital He meaning God. When God starts in with the retribution against the enemies of the Jewish people, you won't want to be there because it's going to be intense. Then he talks about something that's a little haunting, because one of the things that's in here is we picture all of these conquests and all these fights, because one of the descriptions is that all the nations are going to come to Israel to fight against the Jews. And we tend to think of that of the invading armies that are surrounding us, but look what else is here. Verse 24, big ships from the coast of Kittim will afflict Assyria and afflict the other bank, but it too will be forever destroyed. It says big ships. Who are the ships? Well, you heard of the Houthis? It's like, what is that? I never even heard of these people. Who are the Houthis? These ships coming to destroy, they're getting in on it too. It's like everyone's getting in on something that you'd say like it has nothing to do with them. And yet everybody's going to be involved, but it's all going to work out. And there will be a redeemer. There will be a scepter in hand, and that is Mashiach.
Amen.
And Amen is right. It should be right now, Bimhei Ravi, Amen today, Tuesday, any day would be good before Shabbos, and tomorrow's good. Have Shabbos. If not, then Motzi Shabbos. So Mashiach is coming. The other reference to Mashiach is in, which we also notice from Parsha Korach, is in the very, really microscopic writing at the end of the Parsha that tells you how many verses are in the Parsha. So let's just take a look at that because we have a hint there. So that's on page 875. Well, it's actually only in the Hebrew of 874. And in the very small writing, it says that there are Kuf Dalid, the tiny, tiny writing at the end, Kuf Dalid Psukim. Kuf Dalid is 104. And what's the siman? What's the word that goes with Kuf Dalid? It's the word manoach. Manoach. What does the word manoach mean? There's a Shabbos song that's Yona Matzah Vo Manoach. The dove found rest for its foot. The word manoach you might recognize from a couple words. Menucha, which is rest. The word, the name Noach, of Noach and the flood, Noach, but the word manoach means rest. But it's not just going to sleep kind of rest. It's the kind of related more to the nachat of having, we got there. So Manoach is actually one of the names of Mashiach. Okay, Manoach is one of the names of Mashiach. There are a whole bunch of different names because that's what Mashiach will bring, is that kind of menucha from, and the Jewish people, God bless us. We're tired. Okay, we need this Manoach. We need this menucha. So where's a reference to this? We already said before that they had a reference to Ruth. Where does it say Manoach? Right there, Gabi, right next to at that little teeny tiny writing at the end of the parsha in the Hebrew. It
Which
says page 874, where it says Kuf Daled Psukim Manoach Siman. Okay, that's the siman, the sign. That equals the word Manoach is the gematria of that is 95. So that's the siman for this entire parsha. So we already had Piha.
I'm sorry, you're going too fast, Ellen. What does siman mean? What is, I'm sorry.
Like the siman is like a sign. It's a like a mnemonic device. It's a way like, because everything is meaningful, including the number of psukim, the number of verses in the parsha also has a message for us. The number of verses in the parsha is 95. 95 is the gematria, the numerical equivalent of the word manoach. Manoach means this rest. Manoach is one of the names of Mashiach. So this is basically telling us as a summary statement about the parsha. This parsha, underneath all of the language and underneath everything, yes, their lineage from Balak to Ruth, I don't have all of it, but also goes through King Eglon. Eglon was also a king of Moab, and then Ruth and actually Orpah too, they were sisters, are descendants, but they are from King Balak. So he merited that because of the honor he showed Hashem through the altars and the offerings that he offered to Hashem, even though he was doing it for nefarious purposes. It's kind of like, the opposite of loving somebody is not hate, it's indifference. So Balak and Bilam were not indifferent to God. They were trying to invoke God for the wrong thing, but they were trying to invoke God through these offerings. Okay, let's go back to our Manoach. So is everyone clear on that? Manoach, which means this kind of rest, what has to do with the kind of rest that the Jewish people will have of a menucha, this kind of rest and reaching our destination. This is Mashiach. We have a reference to this also in the book of Ruth. So let's turn to the book of Ruth and we will see that the word exactly. Okay, so this is on page 1271. And let me just get my little gematria sheet. Hold on one second. Okay. All right. Chapter 3, verse 1 of the book of Ruth. This is before Boaz and Ruth get together. This is going to be Naomi's plan for Ruth to connect with Boaz, where she's going to send her down to the threshing floor at night. Kind of a little weird way of having your first date, go lie down next to the man and uncover his feet and say, spread your cover over me. You're my redeemer. So let's take a look at this. This is before this happened. This is going to introduce that. Chapter 3, verse 1, Naomi, her mother-in-law, said to her, Ruth, my daughter, I must seek security for you, that it may go well with you. Now Boaz, our relative, with whose maidens you have been, will be winnowing barley tonight on the threshing floor. Therefore, bathe and anoint yourself, don your finery, and go down to the threshing floor, but do not make yourself known to the man until he has finished eating and drinking, etc., etc. And then hopefully people are familiar with what happens after that. And then he pays attention to Ruth and asks her what to do. Then she tells him and he tells her, and then he goes and he clarifies the halacha, and then he marries her that next night. They do not have any kind of physical relationship at this time because they are not married. So let's look first of all, let's look at the English and compare it to what it says in the Hebrew. The English says, Naomi, her mother-in-law, said to her, my daughter, I must seek security for you, that it may go well with you. So what does she mean, security for you? So you might think, I want you to have a man who will take care of you and pay the bills and treat you how you deserve. That would be just your everyday, ordinary, baseline, nondescript relationship. But that's not what Naomi is talking about, because Naomi also sees what the potential is here. Chapter 3, verse 1 here says, let's take a look. Hold on one sec. Hello, I'm next to the letter Gimel that's in the margin there. Vatomer la Naomi, Chamota, BT. And Naomi said to her mother-in-law, my daughter, hello, avakesh lach, I need to seek for you. Now, security is based on the word bituach, like bitachon, bituach leumi here is social security. The next word does not have anything to do with bituach. It says manoach. I want to seek for you manoach. so that it will be good for you. What is good? What is good? Not you're going to have a nice cozy life and you won't have to be out in the field anymore gleaning because that's so like not great. This good is good means fulfilling Hashem's plan for each and every one of us as part of the ultimate plan for humanity and for creation. That's what good is. So I want it to be good for you. What's good? That you fit into the role that you are destined to have. So let's take a look at that. What does it mean? The Hebrew there for what I am seeking for you. Let's look at that. Avakesh lach. I am seeking for you. The numerical equivalent, the gematria of avakesh lach, is 453. What does that also equal to? Melech HaMashiach, the King Messiah. King Messiah is coming through you, my daughter-in-law, and I seek for you this manoach, this that you should have, this menucha, that you should be the one to bring out this potential because you have proven yourself to be the right one. Because everyone knew, including King Balak, knew that the Redeemer was going to, for the Jewish people, was going to come from Moab. It's not, we sometimes forget that we aren't the only ones like on the stage, and we, the Jewish people, are not the only ones who know what's going on. All the nations knew. What was King Balak's problem? He was like many other evil people, did not want the Jewish people to be around. And he did not want goodness coming from him, because when you're an evil person, you don't want to be associated with goodness. You are throwing it out. So he didn't want that to happen. He didn't want them to go into the land of Israel. He didn't want them to have a redeemer. He didn't want it to come from Moab. He knew it was going to come from somewhere in Moab, and he didn't want it to come. And that's why, again, the bigger joke on him is Hashem saying, not only is it going to come from Moab and you can't change it, it's going to come from you. Dafka, you. So Balak knew, Bilam knew, and Naomi knows. So everyone was already familiar with Yehuda and the line of Boaz, that he came from Yehuda and that he was a worthy person. The question is, by the time we get to people who are, you have a whole tribe of Yehuda. We had the first person, Yehuda, who was the worthy person. But then after many centuries, then there's a whole lot of people who are from the tribe of Yehuda. Who in the tribe of Yehuda is going to be the one to merit being the one to carry this down, this seed, this potential for Mashiach? And we knew that it was going to be someone from Moab. We knew that it was going to be someone from Moab, but who would be the one? And it ends up that it's going to be Balak. So as we said, he was a terrible person who had this point of goodness in him. Again, he was connecting to Hashem with these offerings and these altars and everything else. He was just so twisting it. He's a person who's like the master klipa. You know, a klipa is a shell. He was the hardest, like someone's a hard nut to crack. He was considered the master shell, that he had so much kedusha in him. He had it, but he didn't want to manifest any of it. He wanted it to be evil. But it doesn't take away from the fact that the holiness, the spark was in there, because he is a descendant ultimately of Abraham's. King Balak's a descendant of Abraham, just like Lot was a descendant of Abraham. So he had it in him. He was just very, very, very covered. So let's take a look at Balak's name, which is interesting when he's introduced. So let's go back to him.
Are you saying Balak was Jewish? I didn't get that.
No. I didn't. So we want to differentiate between descendant and Jewish.
Okay. How Balak and Abraham? Something I missed.
So we know that Lot was Abraham's nephew.
Oh,
right? So
and Moabite. Yeah,
Yeah.
that did.
so
Moab.
they're Moab. He's a Moabite. So they are descendants. They are relatives of Abraham, which means that they have the spark of Abraham.
And
So
Ammon, the other one, yeah.
So because they do, they had the potential. And so we talked about, I think in Tehillim, that it says, Hashem says, I found my servant David in Sodom. It's like, you're like, in Sodom, are you kidding me? Like, you destroyed Sodom, it's so awful. It's like, yep, that's where you hide. Have you seen these things where if you want to hide your valuables or your keys, you can get some sort of like thing to put in it. It looks like a rock, and then you put it in your garden and hope you remember which one is like the actual rock and which one is like where your keys are. It's like, if you want to hide something very valuable that needs to be preserved over time, you hide it in the dirt. It says, what was hidden in the dirt? Seed of Mashiach was hidden in Lot, was hidden in Sodom. Hashem said, like, could have been like, did you have to mention that? You have to mention that? So it comes from Moab, and Balak was like the king of Moab. When someone's a king, it doesn't just mean they happen to be the ruler. It means that they are the ultimate manifestation of that place. He was the king of Moab, the king of Moab. It's like, oh, that's a good place to hide this valuable spark, right? Hiding in plain sight, right under his nose. Again, Moshe Rabbeinu, hiding in plain sight in Pharaoh's palace. Esther the queen, hiding in plain sight in Ahasuerus' palace. It's like, if you want to look, the joke, someone says, see somebody looking for like their lost key or something under a lamplight on the street. They say, what are you looking for? Is like, my key. Is like, well, did you drop it here? It's like, no, but it was too dark where I dropped it, so I'm looking here. So it's like, don't look in the light, look in the dark. So where the darkness is that's where it's hiding. So this was Moab, this was Balak. So he's considered to be this klipa, and this klipa is this shell. So let's look at his name. There's two different understandings of his name. Back on page 856, it opens up, Vayar, and he saw Balak ben Zippor, et kol asher asa Yisrael le'emori. And on the surface, it just says, Balak, son of Zippor, saw all that Israel had done to the Amorite. The Jews had engaged in a war because the Amorites wouldn't let them through, and so there had been a war. And so Balak panics and thinks that he's next, even though he wasn't next. So he goes into panic. Yes, Reba.
So I'm just curious, but Balak ben Zippor, Zipporah? So why is he mentioned? But it's not a woman's name?
Ben Zippor is the name of his father. His father is
Zippor. Okay.
But you are right, because Zippor, what does Zippor mean?
Bird.
The bird.
The bird. Okay. So there's two understandings. It means bird, but it's also related to another word, which is like a fingernail. Zippor. Okay. So it's like, what is a fingernail? It's like a hard thing that is like this shell over the soft flesh. So he's called Balak ben Zippor. Like, he is like a building of Zippor. It's like, he's a hard nut to crack. He is a person who is covered with nails like this. And so but inside of him is this Kedusha. Now, you said, just like what you said, Reba, about Zippor and having it sound like Zippora, meaning bird, that there is another, it does mean bird as well. And in fact, there is a reference in the Talmud that says that the neshamas of the Mashiach that there's two Mashiachs. There's Mashiach ben David, the Messiah, the King of David, and then there's Mashiach ben Yosef, the Mashiach of the son of Yosef. Yosef comes first, and then David. They're both called birds. And it says that there's two birds, David and Yosef, who are the Mashiachs, and that they rest in a special place in the heaven, whatever, like in Shemayim. So now this says, we're going to read this differently. Vayar Balak ben Zippor, not and Balak the son of Zippor saw, but Vayar Balak saw ben Zippor, Ben, the son of Mashiach, the son of David. Because David is called the Zippor, Yosef is called the Zippor. That's what concerned him. I see the son of King of David coming from Moab, and I don't want to have any part of it. And we need to get rid of this. And so we're going to curse the Jewish people and be done with them so that this doesn't come out. And Hashem is like, not so fast. So this starts the whole process, which is why, if you think about why he lets Bilam go out and participate in this whole cursing, turn to blessing extravaganza, because it should have been that he just told Bilam, you're not going. And, we have other strategies that God has used. We have earth opening up, we have plagues, we have fiery serpents, we have all sorts of things that can happen if you want to stop somebody from doing something. But instead he's like, okay, go. Kind of like a parent. You can go, but I don't want you to. But yeah, you just go ahead and go, and we'll see how that turns out for you. And then how it turns out for him is like, you are going to make all these efforts, because Bilam was one determined person. He kept going for it until he was finally not successful. Balak is disgusted with him. It's like, you're like the most worthless prophet ever. And they part ways. What's really wild about this is the only parsha, other than the ones that happened before. Well, I should say that. This is the only parsha, I'm just gonna say this in general. Obviously, there were no witnesses to creation. This is the only parsha, once we're mentioning the Jewish people, that was not witnessed at all by the Jewish people. They didn't see this. They didn't see Bilam standing on that, say, who's that guy up there? Is this like a sniper, a curse sniper? Like, is this someone trying to get it? They didn't see him. They didn't hear about it. Moshe knew about it because his nevuah, his prophecy, was obviously at a greater level than Bilam's. He knew about it and he wrote it down. But the rest of the people, nobody saw any of this. So this stands out as a unique parsha that was not witnessed. This isn't like the golden calf. This isn't like the giving of Torah. This isn't the splitting the sea. This isn't the 10 plagues. This isn't any Korach. This isn't any of those other things, which were all this is what's happening to us, the Jewish people. This was all about them, and they were up on high places, and we were just like going about our business, doing what we do. So this is a very, very unusual parsha, but it says, specifically, our sages says, and Moshe wrote this parsha, meaning the nevuah came to him. It wasn't like he read about it, on the news the next day and said, people try to curse Jews, but turns into blessing. He's like, wow, I think I'll put that in the Torah. So it's like he was given the prophecy, so he knew exactly what had happened and what had transpired. Beth Ann and then Patricia. Did you have a question?
If everyone, can you hear me?
Yes. Now I can't hear you because you muted again.
How's that?
That's good.
Okay. If everybody knew this prophecy, why was there any issues with Ruth, where she was from and being a Moabite?
Good question. That's a very good question. I don't know, but they knew that there was going to be something from Moab. And then there was kind of like this.
Will they?
Yes, I don't know. That's a really good question. But they knew that it was going to come from them, that there would be redemption coming from them. And they didn't want the Jews to have it. Sounds familiar? You can't have it. We don't want everything. We'd rather destroy ourselves rather than you have anything. Patricia.
So I might be taking us back to the beginning, but I've lost this. Why wouldn't Balak want to be part of this? I mean, this is like.
Because it's on the side of Kedusha. Because once you get into Kedusha, you don't get to live your life the way you want. So you can have a potential for tremendous, everybody in the world can ask themselves the same question. Why wouldn't you want to be part of something great and glorious in Hashem's plan for all of creation? Somehow people seem to have other ideas of what they think they'd rather do. So the very people who have the most potential to contribute end up being the ones who try to undermine and destroy. But that will change because there is a spark. Now, obviously, there are individuals who are destroyed good people, bad people all along the way. That's how the process works. But they didn't want it. You could have said the same thing. Why didn't Lot want to stay with Abraham? Why would he want to go to Sodom? Well, in Sodom, you get to do what you want. You can be selfish, you can do whatever you want. And that seems to be the battle that human beings have. So we have it all the way through. And then very sadly, at the end of the parsha, it ends with Bilam telling Balak, I can tell you how to get to these people. Get them to be sexually immoral and send your women out to seduce the men and intermarry and do a whole thing. And you won't have to fight because God will then curse them. And so that is very, 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 very sadly, that's how the parsha ends. And then we go into Pinchas because he's the one who then stops the plague that kills everybody. So it says the Jewish people, the only ones who can destroy the Jewish people are we ourselves by what we do. But even that, God will only let go so far. And then after that, God will take action to make sure, because we are the ones who, see, I'm trying to mute because I'm getting a back thing here. Sorry. Because we are the ones who are taking God's plan to fruition, and he's invested everything in us. So it's not for us alone, it is for all of humanity, which is like why the Jewish people is like, we want all of humanity to participate in the joy and true beauty and happiness that comes from living in a world that has an awareness of God from the perspective of following the Torah that applies to each and every group, whether it's non-Jew, Jew, man, woman, king, prophet, whoever it is, there's a Torah for everybody. And that is what will bring everyone ultimate happiness. I look around the world and in our backyard here, and I think, why wouldn't you want to be part of something that is so beautiful, so wholesome? I'm not saying there's no problems. So wholesome, so peaceful, so beautiful, has so much potential. You can lead your lives. I'm like, why are you pursuing this destruction? It's completely irrational. It really is. So you could have said, Balak, if someone came to me and said, you know what? You are carrying the seed of the future redeemer of all of humanity. Most people you'd think would be like, great, sign me up. Not like, oh, God forbid, I don't want that to happen through, let's get rid of that. But that was the answer. Same thing happened in Egypt with the Jewish people. Why would you want to get rid of the Jewish people? In Persia, why would you want to get rid of the Jewish people? In Germany, why in the world would you want to get rid of the Jewish people? Spain, why in the world would you want to get rid of the Jewish people? College campuses, why in the world would you want to get rid of the Jewish people? It is completely irrational. However, it will all change as we get ready to go into this very difficult, challenging time, which is not going to be difficult, sadly, this year, to enter into the mood that it conjures up for us. We need to know what the antidote is and what our power is. Our power is to attach ourselves to the light. Yud Zayin Tammuz is Vayehi Or, Yehi Or, Vayehi Or. Let there be light, and there was light. And that we can create a surge of spiritual light in this world. It is the only answer. The answer lies in our hands. Myriad ways to make it happen and make it flow, and just bombard the world with light, create a surge, change the dynamic of reality as we know it, and make the difference that needs to happen. And God willing, we'll see the 3 weeks turn into a true Yomim Tovim, that they will turn into days of happiness and joy and gladness to be able to celebrate. And V'nahafochu, and just like Purim, it will turn around and we will see days of joy. And we're going to kick it off this Shabbos with Parshat Balak. So I want to wish you a wonderful Shabbos. Should be filled with light And I'll look forward to next week. It'll be after the fast. The fast is a daytime fast, so it starts, unlike Tisha B'Av, which is from the night before, a full fast, just like Yom Kippur. The fast of the 17th of Tammuz starts in the morning. You'll have to check your local calendars to find out exactly what time it starts. But that hopefully our fasting, if Mashiach doesn't come before then, hopefully our fasting will also be part of our efforts to transform reality.
So that's Tuesday.
Shabbos.
Is that
Tuesday morning. Starts Tuesday morning. It starts pretty early. I think if you have any plans to eat something, you need to get up, have an intention, and to get up pretty early to eat before the fast starts. And I hope it cools down. I heard it was very hot. I mean, it's like 101 here or so, but I heard it was hot in Denver too. And Houston, how are you doing in Houston, Riva? You guys okay?
Yeah, there was that hurricane last week, but
Oh yeah, just a hurricane.
just the hurricane. But the temperatures are hovering at the 100 mark.
Stay in whatever air conditioning you can muster up, stay in it.
Yes.
Nobody says that you have to be more miserable than it already is. But really, seriously, Hashem should listen to our prayers, and we should just be beacons of light.
Amen.
World. Right. Take care.
Thank you.
Shabbos. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye. Yasher Koach, Ellen. I was talking muted. It was fantastic class. I never heard or what you taught today. Totally
I'm
new.
so grateful for Rabbi Satorsky. I mean, he's not sharing his things, but he just presents so much information in such a beautiful and compelling way.
What you present, it's amazing. It's so
amazing. It's so heartening. Yeah, it is a nechama.
And
I forgot to say that the word menucha, I'll tell you, and Andy and Cheryl and whoever else is still on, that the word menucha, which is the siman, the sign for parsha, the same letters as nechama.
Wow.
Ellen,
Yes.
beautiful class.
Same root.
If you go back,
I'm sorry, nachamu, not nechama.
Could you tell me, I didn't write fast enough. Yahar Sipur, I didn't write what that is.
The word sipor?
I know that's a verb, but when you wrote in front of it, Yahar.
Vayar. Vayar, the first word of the
Vayar.
And it means and he
I'm sorry. Vayar. And what does that mean?
He saw.
He saw. Thank you.
What did you see about Menucha and the Nechama? You changed something.
Nachamu. Nachamu is the same letters. Menucha and Nachamu are the same letters. They're just rearranged.
I have to write it in Hebrew.
Yes, write it in Hebrew. It only works in Hebrew.
And Nachamu
is Nun Chet Mem Vav.
Yeah. So except for the hey, yeah, that's fantastic.
No. Manoach is with no hey.
Right, Manoach.
Manoach and Nachamu are the same letters.
So Manoach, not Menucha. Yeah.
But it's related that Manoach is Menucha. That's the same thing. It means that kind of.
Yeah, that's what it means.
Yonah Matzambo Manoach. It's Menucha.
Is Manoach in the Bible ever? I don't know.
Yes, is the name.
Have a baby and
Samson.
Hashem came down. Oh no, it's right. Shimshon the father.
Was Manoach.
Thank you, Ellen.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much. It was fantastic.
Love to see.
Thank you to Ron too.
Yasher.
Thank you. Take care.
Yes. Andy, I hope you feel better, and Ron as well. Oh, she went. Well, you're an amazing Savta and Saba. Kol hakavod to that too, because that was a big responsibility. I was with you all week.
Thank you. It's Baruch Hashem. I just want everyone to stay safe and healthy and not have any.
And have fun.
And have fun. For sure have fun. I think they had a good time. the little ones didn't want us to leave at the end, so I figured that was good. But then it was very sweet because Dahlia's parents came while we were still there, so we had a changing of the guard, and they were
Good.
off and running with. They're so flexible, and Benjamin and Dahlia get back tomorrow, so they'll, I'm sure, all very happy.
They need it. And is Benjamin okay with the ear? He cannot hear from one ear now? No.
Yeah, it stayed the same. Yeah.
It's a bad virus. Yeah, thank God one doesn't do both because that's a disaster. So he's managing with one.
Sure. Yeah, he has a hearing aid that
On the-
has
On the
it's
good
one-
one that lost.
I mean, he has a thing that's like a Bluetooth, so that he gives it like to Dahlia to wear, so that a microphone that goes into his good ear.
The good ear needs help.
No,
because
just to be able, he can't tell where something, because his hearing is limited, so it's just hard. Like if she calls from another room, he can't really hear her, but if she has a microphone, then he can hear her.
So he has something and she has something.
Yeah.
And if the kids call, can he hear?
I'm sorry?
Kids call him.
Yeah, he just can't tell exactly from where. Because you locate your sound by having both ears. So it's,
And the students can raise their hands just like I do.
yeah. And if he's learning with somebody one-on-one, he gives them the little microphone to clip onto their shirt so that he can hear them.
That's new stuff. I never heard about it. Yeah.
It's great. It is
Huh.
great. So,
Hey, kol
all
hakavod.
right.
Okay, say hi to Steve. A big hug to both of you.
I
Try
will
to
say
rest a little bit. You look amazing and refreshed, but I'm sure you can use some sleep. The baby slept, and the baby is how old? The little one, 3?
2.5.
Oh, like Lev, same age. So he's sleeping already.
Baruch
No
Hashem. Yeah,
No
he slept.
problem with parents sleeping.
He
Because
was,
that
yeah.
expected a little bit of where's mommy? No, where is
No,
that?
he did. He asked for them. He said, I want mommy and Tati. I want Tati. And I'm like, I know they'll be home soon. But you know, with he had 4 siblings around him. And I
know.
think he's kind of like cushioned by everybody.
Help so much. And the big ones take care of the little ones. Is the little one David?
David Hillel. Actually, it's pronounced David Hillel.
Yeah, a little bit of memory left. Thought I lost it.
Thank you. That's very impressive.
Yeah, I'm forgetting some stuff, but every time I'm like my mama and I write all the time notes. So much.
Yes. Luckily, David Hillel is very verbal. And so, except for times when we weren't sure exactly what he was saying, and then he was able most of the time to tell us in other ways what he was talking about.
Hebrew.
English.
Oh,
English.
really?
He's totally bilingual. I mean, he talks
So the parents talk English to the one or both English?
all English. The family, the language in the house is English, but he's in Ma'on, so he speaks Hebrew. Or he speaks Hebrew sometimes to his siblings. If they start talking about something, he'll switch to Hebrew. So
fantastic. That's the best thing they did. What I did, I switched to English. I should have stick to either Hebrew or Spanish, but I couldn't choose, and I did neither. So now I'm trying to do tikkun with Lev, with a little one. But still, Yael switches to English. I said to her, he's going to lose the Spanish. Let's stick to Spanish. And then now I'm reading him Hebrew books too. What a mishmash. They say
when I read to the kids in Hebrew, they think it's really funny because it's you know, you can tell